Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Percival Lucina, developer engineer at stay.cody.io. I will be your host today in this tutorial on how to create a D app using Replit. I also have with me awesome engineers from stay.cody. Hello, everybody. Davi, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Percival. So my name is Davi. I'm engineer at stay.cody.com. Joining from Brazil. So at Cody, my focus is on making onboarding easier for users with the help of AI tools. And also, I contribute to the development of privacy first solutions. So very excited to be here today with you all. I will pass the ball to Rafa.
Thank you, David. Hello, everyone. I'm Rafa Fuentes. I'm a blockchain full stack engineer. I have like 5 years of experience in the ecosystem. I'm so happy to be here, Percival. Any question you have, you can ask for it to the chat, and we are glad to answer you. Thank you.
Thank you, Percival. Super excited to be here. I'm Upendra, an engineer at stay.coti.com. I'm been deep into the Web3 world for about 5 years now, working on everything from sleek dApps to hardcore layer 1 protocol development. Today, I'm here to help make building on the Koti chain feel absolutely simple and maybe even little have fun. Let's dive in. I'll pass back to Percival.
Awesome. Thank you, Pendra. So, in today's live stream, we will cover how to use AI tools to create a D app. But before going hands on Remix, Replit, I want to share with you a few charts showing some simple concepts from the Koti blockchain so people from different levels of programming experience can understand this tutorial. So let's go to the showtime. Let's start with the chart. And for today, we're going to start with an architecture overview of the Cody blockchain. Then we're going to jump to Remix, where we're going to create a simple smart contract using the privacy tools we have provided on the Cody network. After that, we're going to create a D app, a Web 2.5 app using iter.js. We're going to use the Replit tool for doing that. And we'll finish by exploring other ideas and use case with our awesome team we have it here. So let's jump on. So if you are a developer, a software developer with a different background, let's say you are a game developer or you are a mobile developer or a traditional web developer, right? So you probably you are already familiar with a set of tools you use on your daily work. You probably have some knowledge on working with APIs, with working with back end, creating some back end logic using a programming language, database, and other software. And you probably have some knowledge on creating web interfaces. So some of the knowledge you already have is useful, and working on Web3 or Web 2.5 is exactly the same thing. You probably also have a web application that you develop this kind of web application using the tools you are familiar with, right? If you have some knowledge of some tools like React, you can already use those tools in this tutorial. But on the backend side, we're going to introduce you some new tools, right? We're going to introduce you a library to interact with the blockchain. And on the blockchain, we're going to have some logic that's going to be written using the Solidity programming language. This is the standard programming language that's available for several blockchains that are based on EVM, like Ethereum, and other blockchains. So if you are already familiar with that, it's great. You can basically use this knowledge to create the app on the Cody network. There are a few differences that I'll try to show you on the charts before we jump into our tools.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I'm
So
gonna
what?
just jump in. Sorry, I'm running late. I'm gonna warn. I'm traveling at the moment.
Welcome,
Thank
Joshua.
you. I'm traveling at the moment, so I'm gonna turn off my camera after I say hello and listen in. And I will have to jump at about the hour mark, but I'm very excited to for this live stream and to see you walk us through all this, Percival.
Thank you, Joshua. It's a pleasure having you here with us. Okay, so let's go back to our plan. So before jumping in the code and writing our first smart contract, I'm gonna basically try to tell you some small differences we have on the coding network that you are probably not familiar if you come from a different blockchain background. So the coding networks, as I said, it was an EVM-based uh, blockchain, and it can be considered a superset of Ethereum because you can use all the existing tools and all the existing knowledge you have on the Ethereum the apps, but there are some new things to learn. But instead of learning those new things from scratch, what we want to do in this tutorial is to using the AI tools so they can learn from the examples we have prepared. But if you want to know what are the new things we have on the coding network, we basically have the privacy enabled, which allows you to have some encrypted transactions on an EVM blockchain, right? So that those transactions would have data encrypted and also have transaction information encrypted. They use what we call a multi-party computation library based on a new technology developed on Cody called garbage circuits. You don't need all already a developer who is familiar with developing Solidity blockchains. You probably will know that we're going to use the AI tool to automatically generate code for the MPC core library. This MPC core library has new data types and a few methods that allow us to encode and have encrypted information on a private blockchain, right? On a privacy blockchain. So that's what we're gonna do with the tools right after some more details you might want to know. So if you are already familiar with other blockchains, right, especially with the Ethereum-based blockchains, you probably don't have this option of having some private data, right? You don't have any option to encrypt any information. Everything that you publish on the blockchain is public, right? Everyone can see all the details of the transactions you are publishing on a blockchain. So if you want to have private transactions, what we had to do in the past is that you need to have what we call a permissioned blockchain. A permissioned blockchain is basically a blockchain where you have a set of restrictions on only a few participants can interact with this blockchain, right? So it's not a public blockchain, and everyone needs to maintain this blockchain, which is quite expensive, which is quite cumbersome and very complex. Anyone who wants to have private transactions on permissioned blockchains. But we understand that several use cases, like when you're keeping healthcare information or any other information you need privacy, you can't just publish that information on a public blockchain. And the good part here and the good news here is using Cody, you are able to keep the data private to the transactions, to the partners that really needed to see that information. And the good part is you can still do that on an EVM open blockchain that's available for everyone. You don't need to create your own blockchain to have privacy on your transactions. You'll be able to use that using this new awesome MPC library that we're gonna show you in the example. And there are also several advantages for people who are already exploring this space of privacy. Uh, if you compare the Cody network with other solutions that are being developed and are still not quite ready to use, you're going to see that the Cody network is a very lightweight solution, very fast solution that will be able to allow those privacy those private transactions on the blockchain in a very simple way. So we are all excited to get hands-on and start showing, create those private transactions network blockchain. So with further ado, we're going to jump into some code examples and we're going to put in practice all the things we talked so far. So in order for us to go ahead and start exploring code, yes, questions, please.
Yeah, possible. Like I have a small question. Like it seems a great technology, as you mentioned. It has everything like JK knowledge proof and all. So if a person is coming from a non-developer background, is there if he needs to learn all these differences, or he needs to learn the cryptography of GC circuit and all, or is there any simple way, like a person who just want to create a simple dApp on the chain, he can do that without going in depth into the technicalities of this chain?
Yes, you can go into very different levels, right, Upender, right? If you are a game developer, you're probably not concerned about how those transactions work or is the cryptography behind that, and the AI tools that they're gonna show you are excellent because they allow you to create those transactions without you having to know all the technical details about what's behind the curtains, right?
Okay, so which means like Koti has dealt with the all technicalities and the advanced technology it has built on. But a person want to create a dApp or a simple project on that, don't need to have such technical knowledge, right? He can start with the small projects very easily.
Yes, yes, and I think that's the idea, right? We are not going to teach you everyone how to program using the MPC core library. We're gonna use a tool called Replit. That's an awesome AI IDE. If you haven't heard about that, there are many new web IDEs available now that already have some AI integrated, and the AI can do all the heavy lifting for you, right? It can create the code. Even if you don't know anything about programming, you only need to send the right parameters to the prompt, and it will go and automatically write the code you need to interact with the blockchain. Um, as I was saying, the Cody technology is really new, right? So most of those tools they don't know yet how to handle code transactions properly, and that's why I have created for you a GitHub. I'm gonna show a QR code here on the screen, but you can also have the same information available for you on the chat. So our team here will share with you the GitHub for the examples you're going to use here. So in order for you to get started, instead of starting from, we're going to use this GitHub here, and it has lots of examples that are useful to train our AI, and also for developers who who wants to know how to create things. You can go to my personal GitHub, github.com/Lucina, the first page, the simple, and we basically gonna need to fork this project later to use that project on the Replit UI. But in order for us to get started, to create a D app, as creating any application, we basically need a backend and a front end, right? So the backend of our application, we're gonna be uh, the smart contract you're gonna write. So in the simple contract example I'm providing you here, there's a folder called contract. And on this folder, there is an example of a very simple smart contract we are going to use on Remix IDE to deploy it on Cody blockchain. So I'm going to start by creating this smart contract using Remix. For everyone who is a Web3 developer and has already wrote any kind of Solidity code uh, for the Ethereum network, you're probably already familiar with using Remix, which is a tool that's provided by the Ethereum Foundation for several developers. It's a web tool. You don't need to install anything on your computer. You can just go to this URL, which is remix.ethereum.org, right? And you already have this tool that's quite used for several years for people who are trying to deploy. We're gonna deploy our smart contract on the testnet. The Cody blockchain provides you the testnet for developers, where developers can get tokens uh, to deploy their smart contracts for free on the Cody network. On the Cody network, instead of you having the Ethereum tokens, you have there is the own Cody token that's used to have gas to run the transactions and run the smart contracts on the Cody network, right? So there are a few differences here from uh, deploying a smart contract on the Kodi network and deploying smart contract on Sepolia or other Ethereum networks. So the first thing we have here is that you need to download a plugin to use on the Remix IDE. So the Remix IDE allows you to install plugins uh, to add new functions to the tool. And the first thing you need to do is to search for the Kodi plugin. You basically go to the plugin manager on the Remix IDE and you search for the Kodi and you make sure that the Kodi plugins is enabled. When you enable the Kodi plugin, you see a new icon on your left sidebar. And this new icon allows you to interact with the Kodi network. It allows you to deploy smart contracts, to compile smart contracts, interact with the smart contracts, everything that you probably already familiar if you are a blockchain developer. You can do that using the Kodi plugin on the Remix IDE. So in our tutorial here, we're gonna try to do something very, very simple. You can go to the simple contract project that's available on my GitHub here. Go to the contract folder and open the simple store.sol. Gonna here gonna what you're gonna do is gonna just copy this code and paste it into a new file. Right, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna create a new file. Let's call it storage 2. So, and we're gonna paste. So, what's different from this smart contract we have here from and the other smart contracts you probably have already seen if you are a Ethereum developer? Well, what we have new here is that we have this MPC core library that we import on our smart contract. And this MPC library will allow us to store a new type of data called CTUINT64, which is basically an integer that is able to store encrypted information. So when we are talking about privacy on a public blockchain, you are probably talking about storing encrypted information on this blockchain, right? And this is something that you don't have on you don't have on other blockchains. This is something new that code is bringing to you. So and it's very simple to use on a blockchain, right? On a smart contract. All you have to do is to declare this new type of library of variable here, right? And we basically have a function here that basically receives a text value, and it uses the MPC core library to basically encrypt that value to a GTUINT value and then store that number on a blockchain. There are all these data types that are introduced by Cody, but you don't need to know all the details by now. You can really abstract that as a very simple smart contract. It's a smart contract that's going to store a simple uh, a simple value that is encrypted. That value can represent anything. It can be the value of an auction, it can be the value of an invoice, it can be the value of a public healthcare record, anything you want to keep uh, private by encrypting that information on the blockchain, right? So what this simple smart contract does is that basically store an information encrypted on a blockchain. Any comment, guys? All right. If it's good for everyone so far, what you're gonna do next is that you're gonna basically compile this smart contract and deploy that smart contract on the Kodi network using the Kodi plugin we have here enabled on our Remix IDE. All right.
I will jump in and ask quick. What does Remix do exactly for those who haven't used Remix in the past?
Well, good question, Joshua. Remix is basically an IDE. It's a web tool, right? As a developer tool that allows everyone to create smart contracts and deploy smart contracts on Ethereum based blockchain. So you don't have to have multiple tools. You don't need to install anything on your computer. All you need to do is to go to the remix.ethereum.org. You can write your smart contract, compile a smart contract, test a smart contract, and it can go live on production using that tool. So it's everything that a developer needs to have this his or her smart contract live.
Thank you. And I see there's also a question in the chat from Conrad Lax. It says, these are the same UINT64 max values as Solidity? Looks like a question from a developer.
Yes, very good question. Thank you. No, those are new. Those are new data types that are introduced by the Cody blockchain. If you go to the documentation that's available for everyone on docs.cody.io, if you're a developer and you want to know all the details behind it, you can go to our documentation that's available on docs.cody.io, and you're gonna know everything about these new data types. So the data types you're gonna use here are the ones that are available on the MPC core.so library, right? So we're gonna import this new library that was created by the Cody network team. And we need to do that because we want to have this cryptography enabled in our smart contract, right? And this cryptography is based on a new key, on a new symmetric key that is available for everyone who gonna introduce and interact with the blockchain. So when you install this new plugin, you're probably gonna see by clicking on the Kodi plugin, you're gonna see the number two here is onboarding process. The onboarding process means that whenever you install this plugin, symmetric key we call AS key that will be used to cryptograph all your data, right? So this AIS key will be used to cryptograph your values and store them privately on the blockchain. And that's the reason we need data types that uh, cryptography. Right, right.
And uh, and Percival, I think it also makes sense if like someone wants to save something, some private number in the blockchain, and if he gonna be sending a simple input like U64, anyone can read it in between in the mempool or something somewhere. So we can, like, it makes sense, like no one can send simple U64. That's why I think Koti has created another data type which is ITU64, so that it also can be like a developer can easily think like if he's going to save U64 value, it looks here, but in like Koti has abstracted it using this data type, and in depth they were like encoding it and encrypting it, so like no one can read in between while making the transaction, and no one can read the input what user wants to save on the blockchain.
That's
Am I right?
right. That's right, Pedro. That's right. Okay, so I told you a few details about how those smart contracts work, right? But in order for you to deploy your China network, you need to have tokens to pay the network for the gas, right? And the Code network, it has its own token, which is the and for us to be able to deploy this smart contract on the test net for Cody, we need to get those tokens. And as any kind of blockchains for the test net, you have a faucet where you can basically get for free. So you can use them on on your on your. Okay, so here on the Kodi plugin, you basically have this environment where you can connect your wallet, or you can use some of the existing testnet information, right? So if you go here, it's gonna ask you some for permissions to store information on your computer, and that's okay because that's how Remix work. It stores some information locally. So if you don't have any kind of crypto wallet installed on your computer and you want to deploy something on a blockchain, what is cool for this plugin is that it already provides you uh, a wallet address you can use to interact with blockchain. But if you don't want to use this wallet that's integrated to the plugin, of course, you can use your own wallet here. You can switch to using your own wallet here, and it's gonna use MetaMask or any other compatible Phantom or any other compatible EVM uh, wallet that you have to interact with the blockchain, right? So, if you go to the onboard tab here, I'm sorry, if you go to the faucet here, it already has the instructions for you on how to get the tokens. So we're gonna do a simple example here. We're gonna just copy this text here and we're gonna paste it on our Discord chatbot. And the Discord chatbot will provide us the tokens that we need to deploy this smart contract on the Cody network. So I'm gonna just click here, gonna just copy the text here. And let me share my Discord here so you can see how it works. Gonna click here on the bottom. Let me share the screen here for the Discord. It's on a different screen. Sorry, folks. All right, just a second. I guess it's not showing for you yet. Okay. Do you see the Discord chatbot? I don't think so. I'm gonna do something.
No, not yet.
No,
No,
not
it's
yet.
not appearing.
Okay, I'm gonna share my whole screen. It's not the best thing.
Yeah, I think first of all you need to stop sharing this screen.
Yeah, now you can see.
Yeah, now we
Oh,
can see.
okay, so this is the Discord chatbot. The chatbot allows you to get the token deploy your smart contract, right? So
I
I'm
think
not
you
sure.
got a comma. You got quote at the end of your string there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right. It will take a second here, and yes, you already had the quotas that you needed transferred. So let me go back to Remix. Let me share my screen again. Are you able to see Remix now, or still seeing the
Still Discord.
still Discord? Okay. Okay, let's go back to.
I was just taking a look at the code, the smart contract code. And it's very interesting because, for example, you are using the IT string or the IT unassigned number. But if I want, I can use like the primitive data type as usual, right? If I don't want encryption, I can just use the primitive types from Solidity. But in that case, as you are using the encryption functionality, so we need like to pass this special type, right, to the smart contracts method. That's the IT that I thought it stands for input text, right? So each time that I want to send some input to the smart contract method, I need to use like this IT type, right? That's a special type of Cody.
Yes, yes, there are many details, right? And as I said, you can see Cody as a superset of Ethereum, right? So you can do anything you do on Ethereum plus the private data, right? So if you don't want to use private data, you can still use normal Ethereum data, but the information gonna be plain text. It won't be encrypted on the network, right?
Right. Got it.
So we're gonna just deploy this simple. Now that you probably after loading that, you're gonna see that you have some balance, Cody balance here on your account, and you can use this Cody balance you have on your account to deploy the smart contract, right? So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna basically compile this smart contract here the same way as we compile smart contracts, normal smart contracts using Remix. Gonna take a second.
And I think with this plugin of the Koti, the smart contract deployment and compilation looks similar as we usually used to work with the Ethereum contract.
And you see that the compiling was successful, right? Yes, 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 that's true, Upendra. It's the same process, right?
Yeah.
And as we deploy the smart contract, going to be the next phase here. We need to select uh, the storage smart contract, right? Because there are two things that were compiled: the library and our smart contract. So we're gonna select this private storage here. There are some gas parameters you might want to change it here, but I'm gonna use the standard parameters and deploy the smart contract. As I deploy the smart contract, I probably will interact with my MetaMask plugin. It here. And I'm gonna ask to, there is the network fee value, and I'm gonna confirm here. I want to deploy the smart contract. Okay, and now the transaction is running, the smart contract is being deployed. Let me go back to the screen here so we can share share the IDE again. Just a second. Let me just switch back to the IDE. Okay, it's loading. It's a little bit slow,
Yeah.
but it's loading. You're
So
gonna
here
probably.
we have used Remix for the contract creation and deployment, right? And
Yes.
for the Ethereum developer, it will look quite familiar because they are used to with deployment with the Remix.
Yeah, and if you are a backend developer or a web developer or a mobile developer, you can see it as you were deploying the backend of the application, your web service or something. But instead of using a web service and using REST, you're gonna use a different protocols, right, to interact with your smart contract like gRPC uh, and other protocols you have available to interact with the smart contract. So you probably see now in my interface that the smart contract was successfully deployed, right? We would be able to go through the blockchain explorer and check this smart contract to make sure that it was deployed correctly. But before doing that, I'm gonna just call this set private number. So the set private number is the method I want to call to store my encrypted value on the blockchain. So since this is just a number, I can choose any integer value here. I'm gonna just say that the value is 99, and I'm gonna click the transact button. MetaMask will show again, And I'm gonna ask to confirm the information. I just click on confirm here. It will take a second to execute the transaction on the blockchain. You'll probably be able to see the transaction running. So every transaction you run on the blockchain, deploying a smart contract or doing anything like storing a private value in a smart contract, it requires you gas. And you get gas from those tokens that we just got uh, from the chatbot. Well, looks like the transaction was successful. So we already have that information stored on the blockchain, right? So we're gonna just call the call method here to make sure that the information was stored correctly. Yes, and we see here that the information is stored correctly on the blockchain. So basically that's the first part, right? The first part of our tutorial, we basically were able to create a smart contract and to deploy that smart contract on the blockchain using Remix. This part is simple, this part is working. We already have our smart contract. So what we want to do next is to create a web interface to interact with our smart contract so our end users would be able to interact with the smart contract. So let me show you some ideas. So what we want to do is basically we want to use a new IDE that's called Replit. This IDE has some AI agents integrated. And the idea that instead of us programming everything from scratch from our web application, we're gonna use this IDE to create a simple application like this that is able to interact the blockchain and read and write encrypted data. Okay. So maybe we can move to the second part of our development experience. That's to start creating this web app.
Yes, Percival. And I want to add here, like this was a great, way of explaining. If a person have some uh, smart contract development idea in the Ethereum, how they can easily, shift to the Koti. They can how they can connect the uh, Koti Koti's templates, and they can use Remix to deployment on the Koti blockchain. But if someone who don't have the idea how to create a smart contract, I think they can also use the previous live stream in which Davi has shown, like just how you can give the prompts, and you can ask a AI tool like Windsurf to create the smart contract idea. This is also a way. And here, if someone have some knowledge of using Remix and have some smart contract information, and he wants to control his coding, smart contract coding, he can use the Remix way also, as Percival well explained here, right?
And I think it's also worth, pointing out while we're making this transition to the front end that, as we talk about people being able to build using AI, the kind of the promise of stay.cardi.io is anyone can build. And one of the reasons for doing Web 2.5 in this live stream and calling it Web 2.5 instead of Web 3 is AI is not yet, it will be, but it's not yet at the place where you can, I think, responsibly as a non-developer write smart contracts that you would use in production. Like you can write smart contracts following the tutorials that are fun to test out on testnet and to kind of create deployments where you can start to learn in a much faster, easier way how to create smart contracts. And but what you can do is build out interesting front end. So I think what Percival is about to get into is to show you how you can start to build out sort of that front end side that's much more responsible to use AI for today. And then as you start to have ideas, like if you want to like test an idea, like you think, oh, I would love to build XYZ on Kali, then coming to projects like Replit and using the agents to help get what's in your head out into a simple front end that's Web 2.5. You can start following tutorials to do kind of like testnet smart contracts, which no stakes. You're not, risking, security vulnerabilities or, smart contracts that can potentially harm another individual if it wasn't written correctly. And by developing those idea sets, then you can kind of use the Discord and the Kali community to connect to people who can write smart contracts, to take, some of your front end ideas and begin to tie them to the back end. Or you can start acquainting yourself with the AI tools, so that way as the AI tool set matures to where you can start to responsibly write smart contracts with AI, then you're already in a place of understanding of how to do prompt engineering, with these AI tools, and you have some experience in going back and forth. So I just want to make that call out as we transition to the front end, that this is really an amazing place for people to kind of start to learn how to build on blockchains and a Kali in a responsible way is through these Web 2.5 patterns.
That's right, Josh. Good advice for everyone. Yes, and as those tools progresses, we're gonna bring new live streams on creating smart contracts responsibly with those tools and how to test security and other important aspects of smart contracts. And also, you need some knowledge to use those AI tools to create smart contracts. There are many command lines tools you need to understand, like hard fork. They work great, but they require more developer knowledge. And Remix is a very simple tool to use. It's very web-based. The interface, you don't need to install anything on your computer. Okay, so jumping to Replit.
Yeah, Percival. Yeah, what kind? Sorry, I have a question just to let know to the users or the viewers. What kind of projects can we build with Replit? Like we can build front end stuff, or also back end, or is it specifically for front end projects?
Good question, Rafa. Replit is like a Swiss knife, right? It allows you to do very different things. It allows you to create backends, right? It has some backend tools, probably not databases, but you can run servers with any kind of logic. You can have simple web applications like the ones that I intend to show you, but it can do everything. It allows you to code, to deploy this web interface. It has different options for you to deploy those interface. Some are available on the premium plan, and the basic ones are also available for free for you to test. As any kind of IDE, it has some limits on the amount of AI you can use, right? So the free plan basically covers an amount of tokens you can use, and those are LM tokens. They are not coded tokens that you can use for free. And after that, you probably need to get a premium plan. But for the example we're gonna do here, you basically can do everything on the free tier. You want to use many tokens to run our prompts. So I was talking to you about prompts, and I also have prepared some prompts. We plan to reuse that. And in order for us to use those prompts, we're gonna need to connect our application to the GitHub. So as I mentioned here, there's probably a QR code showing on the screen now, and there's also the same QR code for uh, my GitHub repository, and we needed to connect Replit with this repository in order to be able to train the AI and reuse the prompts that we needed to create the web interface for the smart contract we have just deployed.
And I also want to add, like, the link of the GitHub is also shared on the comment. You can check there.
Thanks, Upendra. Thanks a lot. Okay, so I just jumping into the Replit, and I'm gonna create a new app. So there is this button on the right, on the left top corner. You can just click here, and when you create a new app, it shows you three different options. You can use an agent to start everything directly from a prompt. You can choose a template. There are many templates for different programming languages, or you can import from GitHub. As I mentioned, the AIs we have available now, they don't know how to handle coded transactions really well. And that's why you're gonna need to connect your GitHub account. You needed to fork this repository I created for you and use it as a basis as for you to develop the web interface, right? So before starting coding with the AI agents, you first gonna need to go to my GitHub account, uh, fork the repository, so it's gonna be available on your own GitHub account to use it together with Replit. Okay, so in this case here, I already have my GitHub connected to Replit, so it shows you all the uh, repositories I have here on my GitHub, and I'm gonna use the simple contract repository as I start for this project. So I just selected here this repository, simple contract, and I'm gonna click on the import from GitHub button. Okay, so now Replit is running. It's not only importing my repository, but it's also importing all the libraries and everything I needed to create my web interface. It already has installed Node.js, the libraries I need to interact with Code. As I mentioned, Code, the same way as Code has extensions for Solidity, Code has also extensions for the standard blockchain libraries like iterate.js, right? Cody has its own implementation of Cody of iter.js that allows you to have cryptography enabled, right? So as I imported my GitHub, Replit already solved all these dependencies for me, right? So let me go back to my project here, to the file folders. Okay, right. So you can see here some things were already imported here, the contracts that we used, right? And it also has some README file. In this README file, you're gonna see the information about the prompts we are going to use to create our web application, right? So our web application will be basically a simple web page that will interact with the smart contract we have just deployed, right? So I'm gonna go here to the agent mode, right, for the application. I'm gonna create here a new folder to ask AI. That's the assistant, right? The assistant, there is a link to the assistant here also on the left bar where you can click and it automatically goes to the assistant. And the assistant is basically a Claude 3.5 Sonnet AI where you can write your prompts to create web interfaces or whatever you want to create.
Percival,
So,
sorry to interrupt, but can I ask,
yeah.
like, if you wanted to change to use, like ChatGPT like 4.0 or 0.3? Can you change which agent you're using, or are you kind of forced into Claude 3.5 Sonnet?
It has a few options available, right? There are some other tools like you have like Cursor or Windsurf. They already come with uh, many different AI options for you to use. And Replit basically offers you only two options. Unless you start install plugins or start configuring tools in a more advanced mode, you only have two options. You have the Claude, with more advanced AI, and a very basic version of ChatGPT, which is not so accurate. So that's the two options you get for free uh, on Replit. Um, so I'm gonna use here Claude because it's really better than the free version of the ChatGPT, right? It's not the full version that's available here, and it doesn't allow us to easily add other Gemini or other AIs without configuring the tool and doing all those
First of
special
all,
settings.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For example, as we imported our repository containing the smart contracts, I can assume that the system already know about my contracts methods, for example. So I don't need to provide any details about the signature or the name of the methods. So the system now already knows about the my contract methods, right, available in order to call it and pass the parameters and everything else.
That's right. It's a very, very, very good question, Davi. Yeah, since we already imported the contract, we're gonna refer that contract as part of our prompt. In prompt engineering, that's what we call setting the context, right? If you don't provide enough informations, accurate informations about the contract you want to interact, AI won't be able to create an interface for that, right? So some of the information uh, you really need to give to the prompt, right? The URL where we deployed your smart contract, the AAS key that I showed in the previous when we were deploying the smart contract, it creates AAS key for you. It's a symmetric key that's used to encrypt information, right? And there are some information that we really need to show send in the prompt, but other information, as Davi mentioned, like the contract methods and everything, you don't need to give that information again because we already imported that from the GitHub, right? So I did that because we want to keep this prompt as simple as possible, right? So I'm gonna just go to open the README file. That's one file that was imported here while I was cloning the repository. And I'm gonna try to execute here the first prompt. The first prompt is gonna create a command line interface to interact with the smart contract. And this command line interface would be used as a starting point to create in the AI. We are doing this in the web interface, I'm sorry. We are doing this in two steps in order to make things more testable and to make sure the web interface is gonna work right. So the first prompt you're gonna execute here using the assistant, it basically gives you six different information that you need to create this command line interface, right? With smart contract. So I basically provide here, I'm gonna change here, I'm gonna just use the at symbol here to select the smart contract. So this is a way that you create references in your prompt engineering, right? You just type the at symbol in it. basically gonna include the smart contract we created as part of the prompt.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
And that's it.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Percival, but
Yeah,
I
sure.
have to I have to jump off for a meeting. I'm like, sad I'm gonna miss the ending, but I'll come back and watch it. And before I go, one more shout out to everybody. Never put your private key into a Replit chat unless it's on test environment. But with that, looking forward to see what comes out of this, Percival. And you've done an amazing job.
Excellent point, Joshua. Yes, everything that we are doing here is like a test, right? This is not my real account, and Joshua is completely right. Shouldn't put your private key on the prompt, and we are only doing that because we're trying to do this prompt as simple as possible, right? You could use more advanced features like using environment variables to store your private key, and that's the safest thing to do, right? You shouldn't, as Joshua mentioned, you shouldn't probably expose your private key on a chatbot prompt. But for the sake of simplicity, to make this prompt as simple as possible, I'm pasting here all the information that the prompt needs to interact with the smart contract in the prompt itself, right? So, uh, and with that, we basically expect that after we run that prompt, we would be able to see how it goes. Okay, so we are ready to run our first prompt and see what happens. Yeah, and we already got the first error here. Probably let's try to run. As we saw here, it wasn't able to create the client in the first phase. Okay, that's something new. Let's try to. Probably didn't install all the libraries we needed to run. So we're gonna go to the shell here. That's where we interact with the code and run npm install to see if it's able to. Okay. Looks like everything is installed. Yeah, about working with those assistants is that it's not so predictable they're responsible. Okay, it's running. No. It's reading all the files I had in my GitHub, and it's creating the read private number.js. It's basically the program that will interact with our smart contract. So I'm gonna accept everything. I'm quite optimistic here.
So right now we are building like a client that calls to the smart contract that is on the Kodi testnet chain right now, right?
Yes, yes. We are just writing using this smart contract, this command line into the blockchain. Rafa, you're right. So you can see that based on the examples we provided it on our GitHub, it was able to create some simple code that should be able to call the methods to read the encrypted number and print that number on the screen. So in order to execute that, sorry. Let me try not to mess with the code that was generated. We're going back to the terminal here, to the shell, and we're gonna try to execute the read private number contract to make sure it. You can see that the cool thing here, it was able to import the right version of the iter.js that we need, right? It was able to import the Kodi iters library, and that's what we really need. All right, all right, all right. So it got right the first time. So it was able to create a simple a simple smart contract here, a simple program, basically a JavaScript program that's able to interact with the smart contract. It got all the information I sent in the prompt, like my private key address, my AS key, all the information I needed to interact. It was able to use it, and it was able to read um, the Solidity code and create all the methods we needed to interact with the smart contract. And it's also using all the things that we need, like the MPC library and everything else to interact with the smart contract. Okay, so that's our first stop. Now we want to create a web interface based on that simple test, right? Uh, Let me show you the web interface we want to create. Something very simple, very, very, very simple. Let me share the screen again.
Very interesting that instead of generating the ABI for all the methods, the AI just added the method that's being used. So it's very clean way. Because I remember when I started using I needed to, as I was mentioning before, I needed to pass all the ABI to the AI in order to the ABI understand the AI understands exactly what I need. But here, for the first time, you run it and it's working. And you already mentioned about using the correct library. This is a very common error when you are starting with the AI tools, because the AI will try to use the standard iterate. If you don't provide anything else by in the prompt, the AI will try to use the standard iterate, and it doesn't work because we need to the privacy features, right? Like the AS key, we need to set the AS key in order to decrypt, for example, and it's something that doesn't exist on the standard iterate. So really cool to see how it works well on Replit.
Thanks, David. That's right. That's right. It worked very well for this first example, right? The way that you interact with the iterate library is really the only hard problem we have creating these web interfaces, right? Because uh, you need to make sure that you're gonna import the right iterate library. And for this JavaScript version that's running on my console, it did it really well. But for this web page, there are multiple ways to do this web page, and I want to do this web page the simplest as possible. So I want to have the code iterate JavaScript included in this web page statically, right? It's just the code iterate JS file included here. And when I click that button, it's gonna use that JavaScript function here running on my browser, or it could be running on my own computer, right? I didn't need to have a server running. And using that JavaScript interface, it would be able to interact with the smart contract. So there's, in order to make things the simplest as possible here, right? Let me jump back to the Replit interface. Just a second here. All right, you should see my here. So this GitHub project I created, uh, it already has code iterate library included, right? That really helps the AI to get the right answer. And if you go to the browser public page, it also has a version of the code JavaScript version of the code already precompiled, right? Uh, if you use standard Ethereum project, the AI will probably be CDN, search the internet, and find the code either library it needs. But since we are using a specific version of the iterate library that has code privacy enabled, I included that in the project. So when we run our prompts, the 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 Claude AI will be able to find it and be able to use it. Okay, so let's jump now to the most exciting part, that's trying to create the web interface. So I created a second prompt here to create this simple HTML page that would be able to interact, uh, to be able to interact with the Qt library. So I'm gonna go to the assistant again. I'm gonna just copy this prompt here. And I'm gonna remove that part of set the value because we're not doing this right now. So let me go back to the assistant. Make sure I'm pasting this part of setting the private number to 99. I'm gonna remove from now. Okay, so I need to send everything again. So all the information I need again. Not sure if I copied everything. Looks like it's missing something. Yes, it's important to have exactly the right prompt. So I'm gonna refer again to the read private number, the AS key, and I'm also gonna provide a link to the JavaScript library. So okay, let's go to the fun part. Let's see how this HTML works. AI is running, it's analyzing the files I'm providing.
And this also shows the great example of prompts. Like, as we can see, Percival is providing proper context to the AI. That's why I think it is just providing exact result what we need here.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's not like it created it recreated the read private number. Let me go back to the prompt I created. Let me check again the parameters I sent it. Yes, it's like I gave the prompt to, I didn't give the right prompt, generated the read private again. Let me go to the readme MD again to see, make sure. Yes, it doesn't. I'm not really asking to in just to create an HTML page, right? So it recreated the JavaScript again because I didn't say it to to run the prompt to create an HTML file. So I sent the wrong prompt, it created the wrong output, right? It created the same JavaScript again. So let me review my prompt. So okay, I'm gonna execute the prompt again, and I'm gonna make sure that I mention it to create an HTML page, right? Yes, the prompt did exactly what I asked it. It created a JavaScript. I need to ask it to create an HTML page, right? Create an HTML page and use iter.js JavaScript quoted as based on that called the read private number. Well, I'm changing the prompt, and every time you change the prompt, you get different results. Let's see how it goes. Well, it's creating an HTML page. That's good. Now, if the page it's gonna work, it's gonna be a completely different story. Okay. Let's take a look of the HTML page it created. Well, the good thing is it started creating. It's using the iter's bundle I asked, right? So it's a good start, right? And now it has created a function that calls the smart key. So there might be some error, but this looks very good, right? For a version of the HTML page we need. Looks like it's doing a good job creating the HTML page. Let's see. So in order to test this HTML page, you have several options, right? You can download that to your machine, run from your machine. But since Replit has these servers, I'm gonna just deploy that into an HTTP server and test it online. So I'm gonna choose the static web page here.
Okay, so deployment is also included here. Is this for the free version or for only advanced version?
I think I'm using the cheapest deploy, that's the static pages. And the last time I checked, this kind of deployment was available in the free version. More advanced deployments were not available at that time.
Okay, great.
So I need to give some informations here about what I want to deploy. Where's the web page, right? So my web page was deployed on the Cody. I'm sorry, Cody Eater's deployment on the browser. I'm just gonna tell in there which directory I want to publish, right? And I need to write the repository right, otherwise it won't work. It's Cody Eaters, right? Did I write it right? Right. Cody slash Eaters browser public. Okay. I hope I got it right. Oh, come on. All right. Shows it's okay, right? I'm publishing the right one. Let's deploy and see what happens. Well, it was very fast. It has published, it already has provided a URL for me. And let me share my screen. So here we have published the app. It's not the best solution, right? As Joshua mentioned, it has created, it's publishing the private key on the screen. It's not the best and the safest thing to do. Should never, ever do that on a real production system. But since it's a private key that's only using for testing, it's okay. It's also publishing the AS key that I have used when I click the read private number. Yeah, it shows me the encrypted value and the decrypted value. And that's what we wanted to accomplish in this tutorial, right? A simple application that allow us to interact with with the blockchain and and do the simple things. So of course, there are many things to improve. We need to make sure that we are not publishing the right information, like our private information on the screen. So because anyone can get this private key, it's published here and steal all the crypto that's stored on this private key, right? Important on MetaMask. So never do that in a real system.
Percival, question here, because I can see, like, of course, the privacy key and the encryption key, but there is a difference, right? For example, the private key here is related to your wallet, right? So you are using that private key to send, I mean, a transaction to blockchain. In that case, I think we are just reading data, so you don't need to spend gas on it. But if you are going to set a message, I need to have fund on my wallet to pay the gas for the transaction, right? And the AS key is something completely different, right? It's just used for encrypting my message. So in that case, we have two different, let's say, private keys, but one is for the wallet and the other one is for your encryption, right? So you can use it uh, in order to encrypt your private message.
That's right, David. That's right. You have now two keys, right? And the AS key was created when you did the onboarding of your account using the Remix plugin, right? We can jump back there so people can remember that. We can go back to the Remix plugin. And while we were basically doing the onboard, it created that AS key for you, right? Uh, and that AS key it's stored on the Cody network, and you can always retrieve that using your private key, right? You can always retrieve that whenever you need it.
Really cool. Yeah, this is something personal for me. For example, if I share it with anyone, they will be able to read my message, right? So it's something that I should keep really safe on my side if I want to keep my messages private, right? Otherwise, if I share it, anyone can read my private message.
You're right, David. That's a symmetric key. That it's really different from your public-private key, right? You have a different set. If you share your public key, no one would be able to read or access your data, but the AS key is a symmetric key, right? It's a single key that you use for everything. So if you share that key with anyone, anyone would be able, as I mentioned, to read the private data.
And it's linked with my account, so I won't be able to change it if I want, right? So it's one-on-one with my wallet, right? If I
Mm, yeah.
generate the ASCII again, I will get exactly the same encryption key, right? So
Mm.
I need to keep it very safe, right? So otherwise, I need to change my wallet and create a new one and start using a new one to encrypt my messages.
Yes, and looks like the Cody team is working on an extension, right, for MetaMask, so the you can store your AS key on MetaMask using a specific plugin. Uh,
Cool.
if you don't do that now, you need to make sure you have your AS key on a safe place, right? You stored that in a safe place and you don't share that with anyone that's not intended to.
Cool.
And that was the part of the show for today. Do we have any questions from people who are watching this or from our team here?
I have a question regarding the Replit because I never used that Replit before. So, if there any, like there are so many AI tools, is there anything special with the Replit you can show us, like any features which don't other AI tools don't provide in the market?
Many tools. Rafa did a great seminar, right? A great live stream like last week showing some of those tools. Rafa, do you want to comment something?
Yeah, of course. Like as we as we made the live stream the last Friday, we found that there is a lot of AI tools to help us to build a front end stuff, and also projects that um sorry, also tools that you can use to build your own app and your own web app or your own site or whatever you want. So in terms of like projects like Replit, there is like similar tools that you can use to create your own web app and interact with smart contract. And it's interesting because each AI tool has their own features that are wonderful and it makes them powerful. In terms of Replit, it's so interesting that you can tag like a file and interact with that specific file, like as Percival tag, like hey, I'm tagging this file that is the client, and I want the Replit AI assistant calls or use that script just to make a page or an HTML page and interact or use it to call the smart contract, right? And you can use also like it makes me think that you can like make a React or Angular or Vue that you can use those frameworks to create a wonderful UI page or a cool web app or whatever you want. But the thing is that you can use those IA tools to create a web 2.5 or web 3 web apps, right? And yeah, there's a lot of AI tools that you can use. In terms of Replit, is wonderful. I recommend it. You can tell it, and every AI tool has their own features that makes it powerful. So yeah, that's it, Pendra. Well, I have my comments here, Percival, about Replit. As I said, yeah, the thing is here also how you can use the prompts and how you can improve your own prompts to make like I don't know, maybe a better UI, or like using other clients like, hey, please, I want to connect my wallet, or I want to make an onboarding in my website, and a lot of stuff. But it was wonderful. Yeah.
I really like that possibility of importing a repository. That's something really nice, because as far as I know, for example, in V0, we cannot do that. We can actually copy and upload the files to V0. But in that case here with Replit, you can import your existing repository and start from that point. And this is really nice feature.
Yeah, I saw that also you can import like an URL and not only connect your GitHub, because maybe not more viewers have GitHub, but you can also like paste the URL and the Percival's repository, and you can start since scratch with that URL. So yeah, they can read URL content or info, whatever.
But what one thing I have noticed, like all these tools are using Sonnet Cloud's LLM underneath. So what makes them different is the how good they are providing the context to this LLM, as well as what others features they are providing to the developers. Because at last, developer are gonna be shifting or stick to one tool, and they're gonna be choosing, like all the developers gonna be choosing according to their priorities and their experience. Maybe someone gonna be find some feature on the Replit but not on the V0, so they're gonna be stick with the Replit, not with the V0, because the LLM tool they are using pretty much same underneath.
Well, there are many things, right? It's not only the using Claude, right? They have used different versions of Claude. This allows you only to use Claude 3.5. There are some that allows you to use Claude 3.8, and also allows you to use DeepSeek or using Gemini. So there are many tools to like Firebase from Google, right? But some understand better the context, and other understand have less context windows, right? Some other tools like Cursor and Windsurf, like uh, you probably have more context available, and that really helps you to get more complex prompts. If you give some extra information to when you create a UI, like saying, well, I want to add a MetaMask, we can try that. It might work, it might not work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. You need to be patient, right? Because you don't get right the first time the prompt, but there's something that definitely someone can do in tests, asking to add more complex features like MetaMask sometimes works.
Yeah, right, Percival. But the UI Replit has created shows a very important part of the Koti blockchain. If you can share the screen again, the UI.
Yeah, sure, sure. The way I deployed or the HTML file that was created?
No, no, that one you have deployed.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna just let me just share that screen again. Replace the screen with the UI. Here we go. So yeah, if you're gonna see the code, is the code
Yeah,
that we were talking about, right? It's basically an HTML page that.
yeah. As you can see, everyone can see, like when someone clicks on the read private number, it shows us two results: the encrypted number and the decrypted number. So I wanted to ask one thing, Percival. Like anyone can read that number, right? Anyone can go to the blockchain and ask the function to get that value which is stored in the blockchain. But if they don't have AES key, they only gonna be able to read the encrypted number. What result they're gonna be getting is this encrypted number, and from this they will not be able to understand anything. Only if they have that AES key, which is used to decrypt it, and using that key they can decrypt the encrypted number and gonna be getting exact result. So this Replit has created a very simple AI, but it has shown the exact things which a beginner developer needs to know.
Yes, that's right. You can see the code that it was generated here. It really uses the AS key to decrypt the number. If the person doesn't have this AS key, it won't be able to read the It will read the number, but only be able to see the encrypted version of the number. It won't be able to call this decrypted value, right?
Yeah.
Because it won't be have if you don't load the AES key here. When you try to decrypt the value here, you won't get anything, or you're gonna get anything just messed, right? If you have the wrong AES key.
Yeah.
So
So
that's the beauty part, or you the privacy.
yeah, that's what I want to like say. Like if it is like Ethereum in which anyone can go and call the read function, Kuti has not made much difference. Like anyone cannot even call the function and get the data. Anyone can easily can also go and get the data, can read the storage, but the storage they're gonna be reading it not gonna help them because it is encrypted. Similarly, as you shown the decrypt the value, the line in which it says decrypt the value, about that they are going to call the contract and call the private number function through which they will be getting the information from the blockchain. They can easily read the storage, but will not be able to understand it, is just because the new concept of AES key. And the person who has AES key, only he can understand what is this storage means.
Yes, and in real life, it's really important, right? So if you want to publish your healthcare records, or if you want to publish an invoice or anything you want to keep private, being able to have that information encrypted on the blockchain has lots of value. Lots of applications on the web really need that. So that's why the coding network provides you in such a simple and lightweight way, right? Very fast to use, very simple, and you can have all the information you want private.
And really interesting because if you take a look at the smart contract, we are saying that the only user able to decode is the user that sets the private key, right? We are offboarding the data to one specific user. So if you want, in other situation, you can offboard that data to another specific user and allows just that user to be able to read the data instead of us being able to read. You can specify, right, a specific wallet that we want to reveal that value. So as you are using a very simple, right, smart contract, you are just telling to the smart contract that who is setting the value is the wallet that will be able to decrypt that value. But you can specify, I mean, any other wallet if you want. If it makes sense for our use case, you can specify a different wallet to see this data. So you can offboard, right, this data to another wallet if you want.
That's right, David. That's right. And the MPC core library, right? That's based on the garbled circuits, right? It allows you to do computing on encrypted values, right? Even without decrypting those values, you still can compare values, you still can add values, function on the encrypted data. And this is something very powerful that other solutions like ZKP, zero knowledge proofs, don't offer, right? It's very very flexible, being able to not only being able to share information with other users, encrypted information, but also doing computing on that encrypted information. That's something that we definitely want to cover on our next live streams. But for today, I think we probably accomplished our goal, right, guys?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks everyone for watching. It was a pleasure sharing this session with you. Uh, there will be more from this fantastic engineer team uh, next week's. Uh, Stay with us, stay Cody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone. Stay
Percival.
Cody.
Thank you,
Stay
Bye
everyone.
Cody.
bye.
Stay Cody.